Hello and welcome to Michelle's Joyous Garden and Life. I'm Michelle and I am here to share with you some information on joy, specifically on what's next. If you are an empty nester, that's a question that people have probably asked you. I know they asked me when my youngest graduated from high school in 24. And I had all these different plans. I was going to work on home decor, work on things in my life, in my house. I said life, but life too, life too. But what I didn't count on was a few months before my daughter's graduation, my father passing away unexpectedly. And then my mom facing health challenges, which required both my sister and I to really step in and assist her um, more on we just had to provide her more assistance. Yeah, she still lives independently, but really stepping in and assisting her with health and her financial, just managing all of that. And I always say that my father always told my mother that she would always be taken care of. And even now, he made it so that she would always continue to be able to be okay financially. So I am very, very thankful and grateful for that. But when that shift happened, it was happening during my daughter's senior year of high school. My father passed in March, and we were in the throes, like in between doing college visits. At that time, she hadn't decided on where she wanted to go yet, so we were still doing that. And then, of course, planning his homegoing. So everything as far as what I thought was going to happen kind of came to a full stop. And so this new reality of grieving, and then also being a woman that is going through perimenopause, and then later on in the year finding out that I have ADHD. I am neurodivergent. And all of those different things kind of playing together because you are in reactionary mode. And as far as hobbies, I was really just trying to survive. I was just trying to make it, trying to do what it was I needed to do. And then as time went on, the grief still is a part of that. I did get into therapy, and that helped me a great deal, and began to find other people who were either going on the grief journey or who were also neurodivergent. But in that, I began to rediscover some loves as far as hobbies and things that I enjoy doing. First things first, gardening. See this, I have to show you all because they weren't doing well a few days ago, but look at them now. I have such a peace with gardening, and I am so glad that I went ahead and started indoor gardening with these seeds. I put them in this little container. This was like I said, this is like a Jimmy Dean, not like, it was a Jimmy Dean breakfast bowl, and I just doubled it up because I put holes in the bottom for drainage. And this is lettuce. I will have salad. I will have salad rather soon, I think. The next thing that I love to do, I started coloring. I didn't get an adult coloring book. I got the Berenstain Bears School Time Coloring Fun. And this is what I have done so far. See, got them going. And I started this one. But I got busy, so I stopped doing that. So coloring was also a big thing. Next, reading. This series was phenomenal. She has 3 books. This is the first book. It's called The Bells. It's by Danielle Clayton. If you like whimsical things, oh my goodness. It's about this world where beauty reigns supreme, and the bells, their gifting is to help people become more beautiful. It is amazing. I don't want to tell you anything else. There are 3 books in the series, and her name is Danielle Clayton. I read this towards the end of last year, and then the other 2 books I finished those up last year before the year went before the year ended. So I've been doing that, and then also this is going to be my new hobby. At my church, we had Sweet Aroma come out, and we were taught how to make our own perfume, and this is mine. It's called Whimsical Sophistication, of course, because I love all things whimsy. Anything whimsical. So, in saying all of that, those are the hobbies that I began. I've also began to travel. And I think it is so important to rediscover hobbies. Someone was saying that a lot of Gen Xers, when we were coming up, that just wasn't a thing of having hobbies. I'm trying to think if I did have any hobbies as I had gotten married and then had children. What were those things that I did just for me? And outside of attending church and being active in ministry, there really wasn't anything else. I journaled, not as much as I had throughout my life. And also, I'm getting back into journaling. But I think it's really important to do things that give you joy. And those are some of the things that I do. I'm also thinking about roller skating, getting back into ballroom dancing. I actually took lessons, but that was years ago, like right before I got married. I was married for 15 years, and then we divorced, and I got my 2 daughters from the marriage. So blessed because of my babies. But beginning to look at hobbies, like my younger daughter, she crochets. My older daughter, I noticed she has started reading again, because we've always been readers. Like my daughters were really big readers growing up. Diary of the Wimpy Kid, that's just one of the series that I know that they were that just had them just focused. They were just really focused on that. But now I prefer books like this. I love these type of whimsical books. I read what was it, The Parable of the Sower, Octavia Butler's series. Oh my goodness, that series, especially with what everything's going on now, I really love that. That was important. It's an important work. I love series. I also love autobiographies. Last year, I read quite a few. Of course, I'm having a blank, but what was his name? And I really enjoyed his book, Let Love Rule. Lenny Kravitz, when he talked about the biography of his life and his relationship. Of course, his mom was Roxy Rocker, and I forgot his father's name, Mr. Kravitz. Just talk about his relationship with them, and then how he came to get involved in music. But I think it's so important to discover hobbies for yourself. Another thing that I do is I try to buy flowers for myself on a regular basis, because I think they're beautiful. I have a friend I used to work with years ago, and I'm gonna give her a shout out, Brenda Bobo. She will always say, "Okay, kids, it's fresh flower," whatever day of the week it was. And sometimes it was Friday, Saturday, Tuesday, Sunday, whatever. She would have flowers, and then she would film all the flowers in different parts of her house. And I was like, "Oh, that's so cool." So, and flowers they can be really inexpensive. You can go to Kroger's or wherever and get a $4.99, $3.99 bouquet if you love flowers. I think it's just important for you to have hobbies. I think the whole going to work, or if you're going to school, being a mom, or being a wife, and all those are wonderful, wonderful things. But I think it's important for you to have some things just for you, because I remember people would ask me, well, what are you going to do? Or what have you done? I have people whose children are getting older. And one of my favorite quotes about motherhood is that the nights are long, but the years are short. That is so accurate, because you blink and they're adults. That doesn't mean you stop being a mom, but there is sort of a change in the relationship. You become more of an advisor, but at the same time, you're still mom. They need you. You're going to be there and offer advice. Or when they call you, the best for me is when they call and they're not like asking for something specifically, but they're just calling to share something about what's going on. And I love those, because that's when you see that the relationship is definitely transitioning, where they see you as someone that they can go to. Now, of course, growing up they could, but now as adults it's definitely different. And then also speaking to them about things. I know people, unfortunately, they feel like, well, they can't tell me nothing. No, I've never been like that. You can always learn from your children. You can always learn from people who are younger than you are, who have different experiences, that can say, hey, well, have you ever thought about this, or have you ever considered this? At this stage in my life, I am very open to friendships of people of all ages, people who are my age, people who are older than me, people who are younger than me, because you can find a lot of commonalities with that. And being a Generation X, and people will say, well, Generation X is the forgotten generation. I do notice that in articles when they're listing the generations, for some reason they will leave us out, and we're like, what? And we came of age during such an incredible time. 90s R&B, that's another hobby. I love listening to 90s music, 90s R&B. And I think with Generation X, we were latchkey kids. We were very resilient, but because of we were so resilient, it was like, okay, now I want to explore things that really bring me joy. And that's also having hobbies such as gardening. I was anxiously waiting when my last frost date, but then I started seeing people gardening indoors, and I said, why am I waiting? Why do I need to wait? And I don't necessarily have to start gardening only things that will be cold weather, that can go out into the ground like right after the last frost day. I don't have to do that. If I want to, I can keep my vegetables inside. I can do an indoor garden and an outdoor garden. We have free will. I'm giving you permission to do that. Whatever it is that you want to do, you can do it. Another thing, fashion. If you want to wear what they call those skirts, a crinoline skirt where they kind of flare out, I have two of them. I saw them on TikTok. I wear them on a regular. It doesn't have to be a special occasion. I did wear one watch night service, and then I wore another one a couple of weeks ago because I wanted to. It's okay to be whimsical in 2026. I don't care how old you are. I am 53. I will be celebrating my 54th birthday in July. I will be whimsical. I will go outside and frolic in my garden, which I have done. I will travel, which is another thing. I'm excited. I will be traveling overseas this summer to celebrate my sister's 50th birthday. And I haven't decided on what I'm going to do for my birthday yet, because it is close to her birthday. So I'm not sure. But next year on my birthday, I plan on traveling overseas again. I want to be very focused on living my life, being of service to others. That's part of my calling as a believer. And also enjoying life, like making perfume. I've never made perfume before, but guess what? I am going to utilize, I don't have any with me right here, but I have rosemary. I still have dried rosemary. I still have dried lavender. So I'm going to make some perfume. So that's another list to my hobbies. You know, growing up, well, I say growing up, but more so when you meet people, people always want to say, well, what do you do? That's a very Western conversation opener. Not that it's anything wrong with it, but I would rather ask the question, what do you enjoy? What gives you joy? I remember I was at a family gathering and one of my cousins said, so what have you been up to? And I'm like, I started gardening. I've already made the shift of of talking about what I enjoy as opposed to what I do in my day job. Now, I do enjoy my day job. I have an opportunity to help a lot of people. I do community outreach for an insurance company, and I love it. I don't do any selling, but it's all about providing resources and giving away things and meeting different people at different types of events. And as much as I do love that, I do have to, your girl has to decompress. I have to come home. I have to lay down, especially if I've been talking to people all day. And then what I will do is sometimes I will veg out in front of the TV because I don't feel like doing anything else. But I enjoy coloring. You don't have to. And then there are so many great books. There are so many people that have great coloring books out. But if it's a budget issue, you can go to the dollar store and get you coloring books. I've also been watching people make things, being really crafty with different things, and they go to the dollar store and you can make something that you want to have for your house. But reading, this book I actually got for free at one of my work events. And then the other, I went ahead and bought the rest in the series because have you ever read a book and at the end you're like, what happened? What happened? So I immediately did a search. There's got to be a part 2, and there was. It was 3 in the series. So to me, that's what's engaging. I've been thinking about rereading it, but I want to read another a book I haven't read before. I started the year off with reading a 40-day devotional that I got from the library. And that's the other thing. Library is free. Speaking of the library, I got a lot of my seeds from the library last year. I got my okra from there. So the thing of it is, well, I want a garden, but I don't have a lot of money. You don't have to do a big scale garden to start off if you don't want to. You can just, I don't know, this my hair look kind of funny here. Oh, okay. Because I was looking, I didn't know how it was looking. You don't have to do a big, large scale production when you're gardening. You don't necessarily have to do that. You can start off small. You can start off like I did in my kitchen. But last year I was outside. I started with a couple of garden beds, and it just became such a part of my joy. I'm already thinking about, well, who's going to look after my garden when I'm traveling? But you know, you do what you have to do to take care of your garden. And that's just one thing that I have decided to pursue as an empty nester. And I think it's just important to rediscover the things that you like to do. But as a Generation Xer, I think the biggest thing was I used to journal. I also used to read quite a bit in the 90s, but I do love 90s music, and I love going to live concerts. But it's specific people that I will go and see. Like, of course, I went to the New Edition concert, and it was amazing. It's the Way Tour, New Edition, Boyz II Men, and Tony Braxton. They were phenomenal. I love the way they put that concert together. So I love also going to concerts. So that's something for you to do as well if you enjoy live music. You don't have to wait until your favorite band comes to town. A lot of times different festivals will have live music, but I love New Edition. So they're like my favorite. And I also saw Drew Hill. I've seen them a couple of times. They are also phenomenal. I also like attending cultural events. So I've given you some examples of types of things. Like if you don't know I don't know what type of hobby I want. I don't know what I'm interested in. Try. Try with the perfume. Read a book. Color. Travel. Even if travel, I understand that traveling definitely there is an investment, but why don't you travel to a city over or travel to a new restaurant? Do a staycation. Or you can stay in your home and then act like a tourist in your town. A lot of times, what I find fascinating, a lot of people will say, well, I live in X city, and I've never visited A, B, C, or D. Well, why don't you do that? Life is to be lived. You can have joy in the midst of whatever it is you're going through, and I understand that. But that's not to negate what you're going through, but to know that the hope can still be there. That one day you will feel a little better. It doesn't mean it's going to take away the grief. And the grief, it will show up whenever. I made an announcement in church this past Sunday about an upcoming grief support event that I'm coordinating with our church this coming Saturday, and I had to take a minute because grief began to just wash over me as I began to think about my father. But now I can think about my father, and I think about the type of hobbies that he had. He loved to work in the garden. He loved to travel. He loved to spend time with his family. So he had different hobbies. And he used to love doing those Sudokus. Yeah, he liked to do the Sudokus. My mom did the Sudokus. And he just really enjoyed life. As hard as he worked, he enjoyed life just as much. And I think that is what makes life, it can be very beautiful. So this is a different type of video. Please like and subscribe. I appreciate you all. This is Michelle's Joyous Garden and Life. Take care.